Welcome to Hope for Everybody, a channel that exists to highlight people and places that are all about providing hope to people in need. Check out today's episode.
Well, years ago, in a different country, I was working with Lena Pope Home, and Chandler was one of the residents there, and I was assigned to counsel and minister. And while I was there, I was doing a internship for the seminary at Southwestern, and Chandler was one of the residents there, and we got to meet, and I was responsible for just basic care and basic needs, as well as doing some counseling and therapy with some of the guys at the facility.
Yeah. So, I mean, this was a long time ago. We became good friends, right. But then we lost contact, of course. Right. And one day, Tom hears me on the radio and calls in and says, "There's only one Chandler. Can you connect us?" And so they connected us again. And Tom had gone through other positions and had a tremendously successful career, being an administrator of homes and schools and other things, and was looking for something to do. And I was just, man, I was so excited. Tom has been volunteering. You've been volunteering for several years with the ministry off and on. You finally came to me one day and said, "Man, I'd really like to do this full time and work with you." And I said, "I didn't know." And you said, "Well, you didn't have the budget for it, but now we do." And so we were able to bring you on board. What excites you about Hope Prison Ministries and having the chance for us to work together, but then two, just to be able to serve the people we serve?
I think the main thing is the opportunity for success with young men who need help. And when you're dealing with men who have the needs that the guys that we work with have, it's like you're starting from ground zero. And so there's only one way to go up. And I knew Chandler had the heart for these guys, and I saw that these guys were committed and dedicated. And so to me, it was an easy decision because I believed in my heart, and from the calling that God has put in my heart, that this was an opportunity to be successful and see men grow and actually change lives. And so that's what drew me here. There's a lot of ministries that basically aren't given to the idea of a fellowship, of Christianity, of the Bible and things that we offer, and that's inherent to me because that's where lives are changed, and that's what these guys get when they come to Hope Prison Ministries. They get the opportunity to not only be successful, but to actually change their lives.
If you're liking this content, please help us grow. Like, subscribe, and let's keep the good times rolling. Now back to the episode.
I think one thing that really appeals to you, and I know that's a big part of what we do, is we try to give hope for everybody, right? So even though Hope Prison Ministries is a ministry to those who are getting out of prison, we actually have somebody in this program that has had no criminal history whatsoever that you have a very close relation to, right? Zach?
Yes.
Yeah. So talk about Zach and how you came to know him, and how he came to be here with us and what he does and all that.
Well, Zach's a special case. I didn't adopt him; he adopted me, and that's what it really boils down to. And Zach is he's a young man that was born with some developmental disabilities, and my commitment to him was, Zach, as long as you stay out of trouble and don't do anything that I can't get you out of, I'll always be there for you. And sure enough, Zach has risen to the occasion, and in spite of his disabilities, he can do some amazing things. And again, like I said, he adopted me, and so I've committed myself to him, my family as well. And I met Zach at another children's home when he was 15 years old, and he had a similar background to Chandler's. He'd been in multiple homes, and he just attached himself to me and my family, and so we've stuck with him for years. And again, now he's almost 43 years old, 44, and now Chandler has adopted him as well. And so, Zach is just
he's adopted me.
Well, that's true. Zach has many fathers and uncles and mothers, and he's a very special young man. He's the most innocent young man you'd ever meet, and just one day and I just thank God for bringing him into my life, because he's really helped me a whole lot.
So Zach had been a part of your life, and you needed a place for him to go. And so originally you contacted my wife and I right after we had just remodeled an apartment, and he actually came to live with us in our home for a couple of years. And then it was several years later, when he got into a situation where he needed a place to live again, you called us, and Zach called me actually and said, "Hey, Unc, you got a place?" And I said, "I have quite a few places now. I could use you." And so this young man came to this ministry, and all I can think of is the closest analogy I can think of is in the Old Testament, there were these things called cities of refuge. And it was basically just places of hope for people who had no hope because of things they had done. In Zach's case, he hadn't really done anything, but because they had nowhere else to go, no place for refuge, the community, the church, becomes a city of refuge, a place of hope for those people. And that's what Hope Prison Ministries is all about. And the idea that I get to work with you when you once were such an inspiration to me is just a joy, Tom. And I'm so thankful for you being here and being part of this ministry.
We've reached the end of today's episode of Hope for Everybody. If you'd like to be a part of the show and tell us your story, please visit us online at hopeforeverybody.org.